Hello and a warm welcome to TBC News. Our top stories. UN Charter turns 79. Tanzania vows to continue to collaborate.
It stands for development, it stands for cooperation, it stands for human rights, and UN stands for peace.
We shall also have a look at why Tanzania and Brazil ties are strategically crucial.
We had to put in place strategies on how we can implement economic diplomacy.
Good evening, I am Faida Ngaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. Minister of Defense and National Service Stargoman Attacks says Tanzania will continue to work with the United Nations in maintaining peace across the region and around the world, as well as delivering aid to areas engulfed by conflict. She made the remarks today as the United Nations celebrates its 79th anniversary, marking the day in 1945 when the UN Charter came into force, which is a crucial milestone in the global effort to promote peace, stability and sustainable development. Antonia Kivaria has more.
The commemoration of 79 years of United Nations provide an opportunity for the member states to reframe their commitments to the organization and what it stands to safeguard peace and justice. Tanzania's Minister of Defense and National Service, Stargoman Attacks, says that UN, in collaboration with the government of Tanzania, are committed to promoting peace, security, and stability as key ingredients to the development.
To the values and principles of our organizations and ensure its effectiveness, while also refraining from undermining this universal organization, which was created to advance peace, development, and human rights for all.
UN Residence Coordinator to Tanzania, Mark Bryan, says UN remains steadfast in strengthening its ties with Tanzania to attain sustainable development goals.
79 years ago, in the wake of the devastation of the Second World War, 51 nations came together with a shared vision to build a more peaceful, prosperous, and just world. And since that pivotal moment, our organization has grown to encompass 193 member states.
Director of Department of International Cooperation, Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Ambassador Noel Kaganda, says UN has been instrumental in maintaining peace and security in Africa.
UN stands for many things. It stands for development, it stands for cooperation, it stands for human rights, and UN stands for peace. Now, maintenance of international peace and security is a cardinal goal for the United Nations, and it has been promoting peace globally, including in Africa.
From promoting peace, stability, gender equality, and women's empowerment to enhancing digital transformation and climate actions, the UN remains a commitment partner to Tanzanian development as it marks its 79th anniversary. Antonia Kivaria, TBC News.
The Tanzanian ambassador to Brazil, Professor Adelardo Skilangi, calls on Tanzanians to grab opportunities available in Brazil in various sectors such as the tourism sector, trade and culture. Speaking to TBC News about the efforts that his embassy has embarked on in fostering economic diplomacy, Professor Kilangi highlighted the efforts that include organizing a number of forums which have had an enormous impact to Tanzania since Brazilian companies, individuals and institutions have shown interest to visit and invest in Tanzania.
Now, like all other embassies, we had to put in place strategies on how we can implement economic diplomacy. And in fact, when we speak of economic diplomacy, we are not only speaking about creating economic linkages, we are trying to create linkages in all spheres. So in the economic sphere, in the social sphere, and in all sectors virtually. Because we would speak about education, we would speak about sports, we would speak about culture. All these things come under the ambit of economic diplomacy. And of course, there will be those traditional sectors like agriculture, trade, industry, infrastructure, mining, and everything that can come under the ambit of economic diplomacy. So when we got this call, and guided, of course, by our leaders, by our ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, every embassy had to put in place some sort of a strategy on how we are going to implement economic diplomacy relations. And the starting point was to identify the opportunities that are available in that particular place, because opportunities and situations differ from one place to the other.
48% of the chief executive officers from various East African countries have expressed their optimism on the state of the region's economy in the next 3 years, insisting that indicators show that rapid economic growth is expected. They showed the hope during the launch of a research report on the development of the business sector and AI technology in line with the contribution of the investment environment to economic development.
Tumeweza kufanya utafiti kwa nchi mbalimbali za Afrika.
We have been able to conduct research in various countries in Africa. We are doing research by speaking to directors about various issues that affect the performance of their businesses, but also various opportunities that they, as directors, see for growing their businesses and their capital.
Some of the participants of the forum say due to technological changes, every Tanzanian business community should maximize more on the use of artificial intelligence to promote their businesses.
Hii ni very necessary katika biashara ya sasa hivi na uchumi tunaoishi.
This is very necessary in business right now, in the economy we live in. We must ensure that we invest in this, but in alignment is that investments we make today must wait 3 to 5 years.
In other news, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Kosato Chumi, says it is significant for African nations to adopt coordinated efforts in the production and development of geothermal energy so that multilateral organizations such as the African Development Bank, World Bank and IMF can jointly provide support to African nations smoothly and in a coordinated manner. Speaking to TBC News during the 10th African Rift Geothermal Conference, Chumi added that development of geothermal energy production will also stimulate production since energy will be available at an affordable price.
One of the very important aspects which also the Vice President has addressed is that it's very important for African countries to have a coordination kind of, and also to have institutions specifically that will be dealing with geothermal. So through this coordination kind of, then it's very easy for multi-sector and multilateral corporations like the African Development Bank, the World Bank, the IMF can join force to support this initiative, but in a very coordinating way, not like individual countries looking for funding. But if we are coordinated as African, then with the specific institution that will be focusing on how we can enhance the geothermal aspect, it is very easy for Africa to get far and achieve this goal of increasing energy and increasing access to energy to the people.
On the other hand, the president of the African Geothermal Association, Dr. Peter Omenda, says Africa has the right experts in geothermal sector, and he further adds that his organization aims to extend its technical assistance programs to all countries with geothermal potential and catalyze initial geothermal development in those countries.
Companies, organizations to join African Geothermal Association so that we can all work together to achieve the targets and also support the communities with the geothermal development. Unfortunately, most of these communities are sometimes the poorest around, and yet they have huge resources. Our focus as African Geothermal Association, using mainly local experts, will try to make a change in this so that the communities with the geothermal resources can also feel that they are part of the growth agenda in all the countries. So let us take action through partnerships, membership, and at this juncture, I want to welcome you all to register as members so that from next week we move on, we start working on the programs that we want to achieve. We want to go to all countries that don't have geothermal yet, as I've indicated, and we can only do this if we all join together and support the association with our technical expertise and financial support for members and even our donor community.
Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation responsible for the East African Community, Dennis Londo, has been sworn in as an ex officio member of the East African Legislative Assembly during the first meeting of the third session of the Fifth Assembly held in Kampala, Uganda. This step follows a minor cabinet reshuffle made by President Samia Suluhu Hassan earlier this year, paving the way for Londo to assume the portfolio of East African affairs. His appointment enhances Tanzania's representation at the EALA, which plays a critical role in guiding the East African Community integration process. Londo, a member of parliament from Mikumi constituency in the Tanzanian parliament, brings a wealth of experience in governance and diplomacy to EALA. Reflecting on the purpose of regional integration during his speech, Londo emphasized the tangible benefits that the process will bring to the citizens of East Africa, including wealth creation, improved living standards, and increased competitiveness on the global stage. Let's have a look at other stories now. Ambassador of Sweden to Tanzania, Charlotta Ozaki, has expressed her country's commitment to support Tanzania's efforts to prevent and treat cervical cancer, as the disease is one of the most common in the country. She announced their commitment when she visited St. Benedict Hospital in Dar es Salaam for the purpose of exploring how his embassy can work with the local hospital on the challenge. Peter Mganga has more.
Cervical cancer is the fourth most common cancer in women globally, with around 660,000 new cases and around 350,000 deaths in 2022. The highest rates of cervical cancer incidence and mortality are in low and middle income countries. Here, Swedish ambassador to Tanzania shares the experience on how Nordic countries combat the cancer.
We have been here since more than 60 years. And we've been supporting Tanzania's development in almost all sectors of the society. Today we've been visiting St. Benedict Hospital to learn more about a project between two universities in Sweden, one in Finland and MUHAS here in Tanzania. We started around 20 years ago to vaccinate girls against cervical cancer. But when I was young, it didn't exist. So I think it's a matter of the development map. And with this research project that we had in Sweden, and more directly be able to work more efficiently in limiting cervical cancer.
On the other hand, Andreas Metason, who is a medical professor from Sweden, explained the key causes of cervical cancer, while Bill Ngasala, who is a medical professor from Tanzania, elaborates more on the application of artificial intelligence technology in cervical cancer diagnosis process.
Women that are now infected with human papillomavirus, the most common cause of cervical cancer, it will take 20, maybe 30 years. And during that time, we need to make it possible for women to get access to screening for cervical cancer, because we would like to find pre-cancerous lesions that can easily be identified and treated to prevent cervical cancer, thereby saving women's lives. life.
There are a few number of anatomical pathologists in our country, and then not only in Tanzania, even in sub-Saharan Africa. So what we expect with the use of artificial intelligence, we'll be able to reach to the lowest level of healthcare and provide these screening services.
Furthermore, Sister Pius Moria, who is a senior nurse at St. Benedict Hospital, explains how her institution offers services on cervical cancer.
Ya St. Benedict inatoa huduma kwa wanawake kwa ajili ya kuwafanyia screen, kuwapa elimu ya afya, kujua afya zao. Mara nyingi screening ya kansa hawezi kujiona mwenyewe. Kwa mfano, kukiwa katika kipele katika sehemu yake ya nje anaweza kuona, lakini ikiwa kwenye mlango wa kizazi inakuwa ni vigumu kuona. Kwa hiyo
St. Benedict Hospital is expected to be the first beneficiary of cervical cancer services from a panel of experts from Sweden and Tanzania. Peter Mganga, TBC News, Dar es Salaam.
And now in the Your Leader segment, we take a look at how local governments can impact people's lives at home and at work. Let's take a look.
After the completion of registration, now it is the time whereby we are waiting now to go to vote for our local leaders. And this is a very important exercise because we are exercising our democratic right as well as our constitutional right, whereby we as Tanzanians, no matter whether you are staff or no matter whether you are not working, but as long as you're Tanzanian, then this is a very vital and very crucial moment whereby you need to go to exercise your right to elect your leaders. Because we know that our local leaders are very important in the places where we live, because these are our immediate leaders, whereby in case when you are facing a challenge or when you need to get any support or any assistance, or you want to go to any government of your office, there are documents sometimes you needed to carry from these local offices. So if we don't elect the right leaders, that means that we will be led by the leaders who are not our choice.
I urge all the public servants to go and vote on 27th of November this year towards the government local elections, because it is important to elect your leaders because the leaders help us in our day-to-day operations where we live, in our streets, and also they help the development of the streets. And if leaders help the development of the streets, definitely the development will be reflected in districts, in the regions, and in Tanzania as a whole. So it is important to use your right to vote. Do not just stay there and blame and let people elect leaders for you. It is important you go yourself, you use your right to elect the leaders that you want to lead you in the development of your country. Go and vote.
I would appeal my fellow citizens to participate in this poll, as it is very essential, knowing that the local representatives will be the people who will assist the local people in the local level in matters and activities that are directly engaging in our lives. Personally, I've already registered for the pollings in the area in which I live, and I would recommend it will be good for each and every one of us to participate so that we can be in a position to choose leaders of our local in our local areas, knowing that governments have two systems. There's the central government, and there's the decentralized system of a government, of which local governments are in the formation of a decentralized government system. And in Tanzania, it is very essential.
Who is your leader? Who is your leader? You probably have an idea about who your leader is, but this is beyond than just having an idea. It's about being part of the local government election that's going to take place on the 27th of November. Rioba Stephen, TBC.
Now, before we wind up local news, let's have a look at today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. Do not miss TBC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. Time now for all the latest in international news. Mozambique's ruling party, Frelimo, has retained power in its month's national election, extending its 5-decade rule in the southern African state as the opposition accused it of fraud. Frelimo's Daniel Chapo, who is 47 years old, will succeed President Felipe Nyusi to become Mozambique's 5th president since its independence from Portugal in 1975. Nyusi is stepping down after serving the maximum 2 terms. Chapo won over 70% of votes. Venancio Mondlane, backed by the Podemos party, came second with 20% of votes, displacing former rebel movement Renamo, which had been the official opposition party, but whose candidate came third this time around. And now here's more international news as compiled and read to you by Nyambona Masamba.
International news starts the Pacific Islands. Commonwealth leaders are preparing to defy the UK at the summit by agreeing to look at ways of getting financial compensation for transatlantic slave trade. The British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says the issue is not only agenda for the summit of Commonwealth nations in Samoa. The issue of reparations could potentially leave the UK not only apologizing for its participation in slave trade, but also owing huge amount of money. King Charles and Queen Camilla are at the Commonwealth heads of the government meeting. A couple will complete a day of engagement before meeting Commonwealth leaders at the end of the week. From the Pacific Islands to the Middle East, a series of rockets has been fired from Lebanon into northern Israel. The strike targeted several locations inside Galilee. Some of the rockets were intercepted and crashed before hitting their targets. The Lebanese army has confirmed that Israel air raids has killed 3 of the soldiers near the border. The soldiers were moving people to safety on the outskirts of the village of Yettar. An officer is among the dead. And an Israeli strike targeted a car near the Lebanese village of Ali, around 12 kilometers east of Beirut. The village, the main highway which links the capital, Bekaa Valley, and also Syria. To Europe, France has been pledged over $108 million in aid to Lebanon, 8 people displaced by the war. President Emmanuel Macron is hosting international aid for Lebanon, and Israel forces continue to attack what they call Hezbollah targets. He is hoping to raise about €1 billion for urgent humanitarian assistance. Some of the money will also be used to strengthen the Lebanese army in the south of the country. Delegates from around 7 countries and 15 international organizations, including United Nations, are attending the event in Paris. In Syria, Israel soldiers have targeted the city of the capital, Damascus, and the western city of Homs. The residential building in Kafr Souza are areas of Damascus was hit. There are reports of multiple casualties. And in Homs, 1 soldier was killed and 7 people were injured at the military site, according to the Syrian defense minister. And lastly, to America, U.S. Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris has condemned Donald Trump for the remarks he reported made about Adolf Hitler. Harris says the comments are a window into who his Republican rival is. The Harris campaign has responded to the comment allegedly made by Donald Trump while he was in the office as president that he spoke positively about Adolf Hitler, calling those comments deeply troubling. She said it is terribly dangerous. Donald Trump will involve Hitler, a man who was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans.
That was international news. Sports news up next. And in sports, Zambian international reggae musician Chris says Bagamoyo's 43rd International Arts and Culture Festival is a great platform of uniting Africa through music. Speaking to TBC News in Bagamoyo, the African award-winning reggae musician insists he will use the festival to promote peace and unity through reggae music.
Well, this year I think they need to see who is Chris Aka. They saw a bit of it in 2022, of course. Now, this time they are going to see massive reggae music, international music, and we are going to give them the best, because we are one of the best in Southern Africa. So basically, we have to give them the best. So come 26th of October, which is this Saturday, which is the official closing of Bagamoyo International Festival. People should come in numbers to witness these massive reggae vibrations.
Performing reggae, because we also do we do African fusion, but for this one we prepared the reggae because the reggae sends a massive message to people. It caters for every genre. Reggae speaks a lot. It speaks louder. And people get the point easily.
He woke up in the morning thinking of what to do. No food, no shelter, but we got to survive.
Various music genres and cultural groups from 18 countries are participating in the festival, which is expected to end on the 26th of October 2024. Simba Sports Club assistant coach Darian Wilkins says Namungo FC has often been one of their biggest rivals in recent years. However, this time his team comes with a different approach to the match. Darian adds that the tight schedule forces them to change his starting lineup, while Namungo FC assistant coach Ngawina says they are confident about defeating Simba this time once again.
Namungo has played very, very well in their opening fixtures. They have not amassed the amount of points that really they could have or they should have, but it will definitely be a competitive team. And now, when you change coaches, of course, it brings a different aspect into the game. Of course, we know that Namungo are tactically flexible anyway.
In this match, Namungo enters the field looking to bounce back after losing to Singida Black Stars, while Simba comes in with momentum after a win against Tanzania-Brazil. That was sports news. And now, before we wind up the news bulletin, let's have a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Hello, this is 24 hours weather forecast from Tanzania Meteorological Authority. Starting from tonight, 9 p.m. The state of the lake and the state of the sea is expected to be slight. And we expect chance of rainfall over some few areas of Lake Victoria Basin and western parts of the country. And now let us see of the weather details. And this is what we expect for tonight. For areas around Lake Victoria Basin, we expect partly cloud condition, thunderstorms over few areas. And the remaining part of the country is expected to be dry. And now let us see what we expect for tomorrow. For western parts of the country and Lake Victoria Basin, we expect partly cloud condition, thunder showers over a few areas, and sun periods. For Arusha, Kilimanjaro, Tanga, Pwani including Mafia Isos, Dar es Salaam, together with Pemba and Unguja Isos, we expect partly cloud condition, light rain showers over a few areas, and sun periods. And the remaining part of the country, we expect partly cloud condition and sun periods. And now let us take a look of the next 4 days weather forecast. For Dar es Salaam, we expect light rain and sun periods. For Dodoma, we expect sun periods. For Mbeya region, we expect sun periods. For Mwanza, we expect thunder showers. For Kilimanjaro, we expect sun periods and light rain. For Morogoro, we expect sun periods. Arusha, we expect sun periods and light rain. And that's all for today. Make sure to catch up again tomorrow. From Tanzania Meteorological Authority, my name is Mariam Faris. Bye-bye.
And that marks the end of the news bulletin for tonight. I am Faithangaga. Good night.
Unaangalia TBC1, ukweli na uhakika.